Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Uyi Agmofwegwe. And here is a quick reminder that we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. President Bola Tinubu has directed Nigerian missions in South Africa to immediately establish a crisis notifications unit for imperiled citizens. Minister of Foreign Affairs Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu warned that the ongoing anti-foreigner campaign in the country may be more accurately described as Afrophobia than xenophobia. The directives followed a phone conversation between Odumegu Ojukwu and her South African counterpart Ronald Lamola amid worsening tensions in the southern African nation. The federal government has announced that the National Examinations Council will begin conducting computer-based examinations this year as part of efforts to tackle examination malpractice and modernize the country's assessment system. Minister of Education Dr. Tunji Alausa disclosed this during NECO's 25th anniversary celebration held in Abuja. Alausa also stated that the transition to technology-driven examinations marked a significant step in strengthening the credibility of public examinations in the country, as well as enhancing Nigeria's competitiveness in global education standards. The House of Representatives has commenced moves to establish a comprehensive national framework for the control and regulation of alcohol consumption in Nigeria, in what lawmakers have now described as a major step toward addressing the growing social and public health consequences of substance abuse across the country. The bill, sponsored by Chairman of the House Ad Hoc Committee on Drug Trafficking, Tobacco and Alcohol Abuse, Oluwatimilehin Adelegbe, said the proposed law was designed to address rising concerns over alcohol abuse and its impact on public health, security, road safety, domestic violence, and youth development. The bill, which has already passed first reading, seeks to regulate the production, importation, distribution, advertisement, marketing, and consumption of alcoholic beverages in Nigeria while introducing stronger safeguards for minors and vulnerable groups. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, have signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at closing regulatory gaps as well as strengthening enforcement against unsafe products and unfair market practices. The agreement signed in Abuja is expected to deepen collaboration between both agencies in areas such as product safety, consumer protection, and enforcement of standards. The agreement was introduced a structured system for information exchange between both regulators aimed at eliminating delays that often hinder investigations and enforcement. The federal government has called on local government administration across the federation to take a more active role in promoting inclusive development by fortifying social protection mechanisms at the grassroots level. Senator Abubakar Bagudu, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, made this call while serving as the special guest of honor at a stakeholder engagement session with local government chairmen. In his address, the minister pointed to the Nigerian Constitution as the primary driver for public service, noting that it imposes both moral and legal duties on officials to secure the welfare of every citizen. Let's turn to other stories for you. The federal government has ordered the immediate closure of a section of the Eko Bridge as it formally commenced the construction of a new Carter Bridge in Lagos, citing urgent structural concerns. At a project handover ceremony on Lagos Island, Minister of Works David Umahi said detailed underwater assessments had revealed critical defects in key bridge infrastructure across the state. Umahi noted that investigations dating back to 2013, alongside recent inspections, showed that some of the supporting piles beneath Carter Bridge and the Third Mainland Bridge had shifted. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has directed contractors handing major projects in Abuja to meet delivery timelines ahead of President Bola Tinubu's third anniversary in office. Our correspondent Kabir Hassan now reports.
The directive came during an inspection of the ongoing project across the capital, including the Jahi-Gwarimpa Inter-Exchange, Airport Road to Kujeo Corridor, and the City Gate development. Wike expressed satisfaction with the pace of work, particularly at the Jahi Interchange project, saying the project is nearing completion.
I'm hopeful that by the end of this month, we may be rounding up with that job. And then from Kuje to the first segment to Gwagwalada, very interesting. The game was doing quite well. We also believe that they will be on time. And then we've been to the City Gate.
At the City Gate, the minister described the development as a major transformation that will improve the appearance of the nation's capital.
1 month, anybody coming to Abuja will see that you have been welcomed with a different landscape, and that's what is required to let you know this is a part of the type of city you are coming in. We're happy with the job they carried out by Julius Berger, a quality job, and we're appointed, we have added additional jobs.
Wike expressed that all projects scheduled for inauguration during the administration's anniversary must be completed on time, adding that the FCT administration is committed to improving infrastructure and connectivity across Abuja. Kabir Hassan, Global TV News.
Thank you so very much, Kabir. Former Governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, says only the Supreme Court of Nigeria can determine the fate of Muhammadu Sanusi II in the ongoing emirship dispute. The former governor emphasized that it is a position which ultimately will be upheld and given effect by Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf in line with the rule of law. Dr. Ganduje made the clarification while reacting to reports alleging that he had endorsed Sanusi as Emir of Kano and chairman of the Kano State Council of Chiefs. In a statement signed by the former Commissioner of Information and his Chief of Staff, Comrade Muhammad Garba, Dr. Ganduje described the reports as misrepresentation, noting that his reference to Sanusi by his traditional title during the swearing-in ceremony of the deputy governor was merely a matter of courtesy and protocol. Inspector General of Police Tunji Disu says effective security in Nigeria can only be achieved through strong collaboration between the police and communities. Speaking on the theme 42 years of PCRC, a legacy of service, a future of safe communities, the police board described the PCRC as one of the enduring pillars of community-oriented policing in Nigeria. The IG, represented by Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of logistics and supply, DIG Kenechukwu Owemele, stated this during the 32nd anniversary celebration of the Police Community Relations Committee held in Abuja. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission says the Federal High Court in Kaduna has granted former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai access to medical treatment while in custody. The ruling followed a compassionate plea by Defense Counsel during proceedings in the ongoing trial of the former governor over alleged money laundering and corruption-related offences. El-Rufai and a co-defendant, Joel Aduga, are facing a 10-count charge before Justice Ruwan Aikawa of the Federal High Court in Kaduna, bordering on alleged conversion and possession of proceeds of corruption as well as money laundering. The All Progressives Congress (APC) has waived the screening requirement for President Bola Tinubu ahead of its 2027 primaries, declaring him duly cleared in line with the party's constitution and internal procedures. The decision was taken by the party's National Working Committee at its 188th meeting at the party's National Secretariat. The statement issued after the meeting by the APC's National Publicity Secretary, Phyllis Morka, the party said the decision was taken in line with the powers granted to the NWC under its constitution to organize and oversee party primaries and, where necessary, grant waivers in the party's best interest. Still talking politics, the Labour Party has continued to witness a surge in interest ahead of the 2027 general election as aspirants for various elective positions thronged the party's national secretariat to obtain nomination forms. Among those who purchased forms were former Ondo State First Lady Betty Ayawu Akaredolu alongside several national and state assembly aspirants from Adamawa and Delta States. One of the aspirants, Hassan Maman Berguwa, described the process as seamless, expressing confidence in the party's growing fortunes ahead of the 2027 general election. This is Global Television, and you are watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. The rest of the news continues after this forecast for weather, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please do not go away.
A very warm welcome. Significant storm cells developed over central Nigeria during the early hours of Wednesday, as seen on this satellite imagery, drifting westwards and bringing localized flooding to parts of the southwest, especially Lagos State. Moderate rainfall is expected to persist with a continued risk of flooding, so residents are advised to stay alert and monitor updates. Later in the day, additional storms may form over the central high grounds, producing light to moderate rainfall and gusty winds across parts of the Federal Capital Territory, some parts of Nasarawa, Kogi, Niger, and Kwara State, extending into parts of the southwest and also the southeastern region. This should include Abia, Imo, and Anambra. Parts of Taraba, Adamawa, and also Kaduna State may also be affected, while much of the northern region remains under sunny skies. And that's it from this end. Join us again.
Well, thank you so very much for staying with us. The second part of this news broadcast now returns to business. The federal government has ruled out a return to fuel subsidies and the reintroduction of price control despite rising global oil prices triggered by tensions between the United States and Iran. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy Taiwo Oyedele spoke during engagements with global investors in Paris, where he highlighted Nigeria's economic outlook and reform trajectory. In a statement, Oyedele said Nigeria would maintain its market-driven approach, stressing that subsidy removal remains irreversible to prevent distortions in the economy. The House of Representatives has described the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) over what lawmakers described as weak regulatory oversight, blaming the agency for the persistently poor quality of telecom services across the country. Speaking on the motion, Jaha stressed the central role of telecommunications now play in Nigeria's economy and daily life, while lamenting the widening gap between subscriber expectations and actual service delivery. The lawmakers said the regulator had failed to effectively enforce standards that would compel service providers to deliver reliable connectivity, warning that the situation poses risks to lives and property, especially in emergencies. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has allotted a total of 731.75 billion naira at its Treasury bills primary market auction as investor demand remained overwhelmingly skewed towards the 364-day instrument despite marginal declines in stock rates across all maturities. Auction results showed that total subscriptions climbed to 2.41 trillion naira, far exceeding the 700 billion naira offered across the 91-day, 182-day, as well as the 364-day tenors. The Apex Bank also increased allotments above the initial offer size, particularly on the one-year paper, underscoring sustained liquidity conditions and continued appetite for long-dated government securities. Now time to take the news to the foreign scene, where the Director General of the World Health Organization says he experienced what he described as a sleepless night as authorities coordinated the evacuation of patients from a cruise ship linked to a deadly hantavirus outbreak. The vessel MV Hondas remains at the center of growing international health concerns after multiple infections and deaths were recorded on board. Mukhtar Kasim has the rest of the story.
World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus says global health authorities are closely monitoring the hantavirus outbreak linked to the cruise ship MV Hondios. 3 patients were evacuated from the vessel on Wednesday as officials worked to contain the outbreak, which has already claimed several lives and raised concerns across multiple countries. Speaking to AFP, Tedros admitted the situation had been emotionally intense for health officials coordinating the emergency response.
We have about 8 cases now suspected, and
investigations continue into the strain linked to the ship.
So far, the risk to the rest of the world is low, and we're trying to do our best. We have already now some medics, who joined the ship, including staff from WHO, and we will continue to monitor and support the people in the ship, and also monitor the situation outside that.
The Dutch-flagged cruise ship remains under close monitoring as international health agencies continue tracing passengers and assessing possible human-to-human transmission of the virus. Hantavirus is typically linked to exposure to infected rodent droppings, though some strains have shown limited human transmission under specific conditions. Mukhtar Kasem, Global TV News.
Democratic lawmakers in the United States are demanding the resignation of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick after accusing him of lying to Congress and helping conceal details linked to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The allegations emerged during a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight Committee. Again, Mukhtar Kasem has details for us.
Tensions rose on Capitol Hill as Democratic lawmakers sharply criticized United States Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick over his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Lawmakers accused the billionaire cabinet official of giving misleading testimony during a deposition focused on his links to the disgraced financier, whose connections to powerful figures have fueled years of controversy in the United States. Democratic Representative Yasmin Ansari described Lutnick as dishonest and accused him of enabling a wider cover-up.
Arizona's 3rd District, after what we have seen so far in this transcribed interview, I feel very comfortable saying that Howard Lutnick is a pathological liar who is enabling the most egregious cover-up in American history. We have now gone through by saying that there are real victims here. There are potentially over 1,000 women who were abused and raped when they were children. And even at the bare minimum, Howard Lutnick was aware of these things. He knew. It just demonstrates the culture of enabling these crimes and allowing rich and powerful people like Jeffrey Epstein and all of the other disgusting rich and powerful men who committed these crimes to continue.
Another Democratic lawmaker, Suhas Subramanyam, also called for Lutnick to step down following the hearing.
That was absolutely mind-boggling what we just heard in the room. He was evasive, nervous, he was dishonest. He would not admit to lying, which he clearly did in the podcast. He said he was never in the room with Jeffrey Epstein ever again after the first time he met him. Yet he then admitted that he was in the room with Jeffrey Epstein. I had to ask him whether he and I were in the same room just now, because I couldn't understand his meaning of we were in the same room together. And then he said that Jeffrey Epstein was a sick man, that he would never want to be in the room with him again.
The hearing focused heavily on Lutnick's reported visit to Epstein's private Caribbean island years after allegations against the financier had already become public. Howard Lutnick has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing, and Republican lawmakers have defended the investigation against claims of political bias. Jeffrey Epstein, who faced multiple sex crime allegations, died in a New York jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. Authorities ruled his death as suicide. Mukhtar Kasem, Global TV News.
Now time to turn to sports for you. Nigeria has been admitted into the Confederation of African Football, CAF, Grade A Coaching Convention. The Federation's Coaching Education Project Manager, Jade Zakaria, gave the approval in a letter addressed to the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF. Team Nigeria has arrived in Accra, Ghana for an international friendly boxing tournament against the host nation's Black Bombers and Heaters as part of preparations for the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The delegation will step into action at the Accra Sports Stadium in what serves as a crucial tune-up ahead of the Games scheduled for July 23 to August 2nd in Glasgow, Scotland. Nigeria's squad features a balanced mix of male and female boxers supported by a full technical and administrative crew. Iran's football chief says their World Cup hosts is FIFA, not Mr. Trump or America, and has called for respect towards the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC) if the national team is to travel to the United States for the summer's tournament. There remains uncertainty over Iran's participation at the World Cup because of the war with the U.S. and Israel. Iran's FA chief Mehdi Taj was among a delegation which turned back from the Canadian border before last week's FIFA Congress in Vancouver because of what they felt was disrespectful treatment by immigration officials. And as a full cycle on the news, a quick reminder that we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We encourage you to follow, interact, and subscribe across all of our social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG, as well as on the handles as you now see on your screen. I'm Wee Agmofwe. We're saying a big thank you to you for watching, and I will see you on News Prime.